Hi guys, welcome to or back to my channel. This is Mel KV Vlogs. If you are new here, please subscribe, like, watch some of my older videos, and welcome to my channel. So today is another sit down video, and it's kind of a tricky topic. So today we're going to be talking about body image and what is expected of performers in the theater industry and the dance industry as well, and just like issues with all of that. Yikes, we are going to be spilling the tea. I'm honestly not holding back. Like, this is something that needs to be talked about, and there's a lot of things that people also don't realize that I want to share, and that also some of you have shared with me. I posted on my Instagram, on my Not So Starving Artist Instagram, asked people to like write comments or questions about body image in theater and, you know, this whole topic, and a lot of people sent in some really interesting things. I don't even know where to start. This is like so weird, but we're gonna spill the tea. We're just gonna spill the damn tea. Okay, everybody knows that there's always been this like stigma, or there's always been this thing about the Broadway body. And generally when you look at a Broadway show, the cast, no matter what the story is about, it's always super fit people. Usually the men are all pretty buff, the girls are usually always skinny, and if they're not skinny, if they are a bit bigger, then they're usually playing like the comedic roles, things like that. And it's been this way for so long, and I think probably within the past few years people have been like, but why? Why? And I think one of the most interesting things somebody said, which I totally agree, is that we're supposed to reflect the life around us. And right now, and really in the whole history of musical theater, the people that are cast in these shows are not reflecting real life. No group of people is like that snatched. Just thinking of different shows like wow, I'm brain dead. Like Mamma Mia, for example. It's supposed to be like young people living in Greece, chilling. Not everybody's gonna be snatched. They don't need to be snatched. What does that have to do with the storyline? Things like that. It's just like, we've made it a thing, and I feel like we all kind of accepted that that was a thing, and now we're all like, but why is that a thing? I remember being in college and literally like with my whole class always talking about like, gotta get that Broadway body, going to the gym for the Broadway body. And like, why is like snatched the Broadway body? If you follow Megan Bowen on Instagram, she is great. She's actually she started a new like movement called #TheNewChorusGirl, which I think is really cool. But she made a post the other day, and I feel like it really explained everything well, that instead of valuing somebody's like health and fitness over aesthetic, like we value so much more somebody looking a certain way than them actually being strong and healthy. So that's really what a Broadway body is. You want a Broadway body to be a body that is strong, well-nourished, healthy, so that you could do 8 shows a week and be strong enough to do that for your whole career. You can't judge somebody on the outside of whether they're healthy or not, really. Everybody has different genetics. Everybody's body is different. Some of us are naturally tiny and some people aren't. Like, it's just the way you are born and built. And I think we need to really be discussing health instead of what you look like. So nourishing your body correctly, working out to cross train so that you don't get injured, not work out so you could aesthetically look a certain way, things like that, you know? It's stupid. It's so stupid. So I'm gonna spill some tea on specifics, because things that people have endured in this industry in regards to body image is just insane to me. Okay, so one girl told me that she was told in college that she would never be considered for the role of a love interest because she wasn't skinny. Why? Are only skinny people worthy of love? That's what we're telling audiences then, if we're only casting super tiny people. And honestly, that's why we all believe that then. And because what we're seeing on stage, and like a lot of times in movies, everything, TV shows, the people who are like the love interest, the ingenue, are super tiny, and then that makes everybody think in real life, oh, nobody's gonna love me until I'm that tiny, and that just perpetuates so many other issues. But the fact that this girl was told in college that she would never be a love interest because she wasn't skinny is ridiculous. Why can't certain roles just be any body type? Like, why? I can't think of a single role that should only be skinny. You know what I mean? We need to normalize normal bodies, healthy bodies, not thing else. One of my guy friends, he said that men are not taken seriously unless they're exceptionally fit, which is also true. If you notice, most of the leading men are like huge buff guys, and in reality, why? But like, especially when it's like the character they're playing is like an accountant. In reality, that accountant is not going to be like freaking going hard at the gym every single day. Like, they're going to be a bit busy. It's things like that. It's just not reflecting real life. That is not realistic, and there is no reason why a man who has trained and worked his butt off to be an amazing singer and an amazing actor or an amazing dancer and not be taken seriously because he isn't jacked. It has nothing to do with the story that's being told. That's like the main point, is like, can you still tell the story with this body type and this body type and this body type? Usually the answer is yes. So we need to just like cut that shit out, you know? Somebody said, do you think theater will let go of small bodies for ensemble women? I do think we're getting there. I think back in the day we really valued super tall, skinny girls or like tiny girls. And I have seen more body types shown in different shows now, for sure, but I think we still value that like base Broadway body for ensemble women. And I know I still water. I need water. Hold on. I personally still feel the pressure of looking a certain way, and like, this is where it gets tricky. We all have busted our butts to get to where we are professionally, and like, a lot of us have gone to college for this. We've been training for this our whole lives, and we've been told and we've seen that like, if I make sure that I am looking physically the best, I'll have a better chance of getting that call back or booking that job. And I totally feel that pressure, like, for sure. It's just always in the back of my mind. And although I am lucky enough that it's never caused major problems for me, I try to not let myself think about it too much. But it's definitely there, and I feel like a lot of women in theater are constantly thinking about that. We're always comparing ourselves to the next girl. When you get cut, you're like, oh, it's because I looked bloated today and my abs weren't showing, like things like that. And once again, were my abs gonna help tell the story of this show I was auditioning for? Probably not. So why does it matter? Why are we killing ourselves to look a certain way and like doing restrictive diets, things like that, to look a certain way? Because it's not realistic and it's not fun. It's not healthy, it's not fun. A few people actually said that their agents had told them, oh, you're not skinny, but you're not fat, you're in the middle, so you need to either decide to lose weight or to gain weight, because you can only be one. You can't be in the middle. Like, middle bodies just like aren't gonna work. As if most of our society isn't like middle bodies. How does that make any sense? So apparently if you lose weight, you're going to be seen as the ingenue or the hot ensemble girl. But if you gain weight, oh, you can be those fun character roles or the older characters. It's ridiculous that that's the way it's been set up, and I am hopeful that it's going to start changing, but that's crazy to me that people's agents have literally told them that. And I've also heard of people at school being told that, so that's crazy. And here's, for me, one of the biggest things that I want to talk about that one girl brought up as well. I worked on 2 cruise lines before, Carnival and Norwegian. I'm just gonna say it, it's fine, it's the truth, so I can speak the truth. So my first job out of college was Carnival Cruise Line. I had just graduated. Literally 3 days after graduation, I flew and started rehearsals for my first like real professional job. And I really have never been the type of person to worry about my weight or anything. I've never, like, all through college, I didn't have a scale. I never really knew what my weight was. I never really cared that much. I just knew, like, as long as I was fueling my body and working out, like, that's how you stay healthy. But I get to Carnival and they had us be weighed by our dance captain every week. And we would all kind of stand in a line and we'd like get weighed and they'd write down our weight. And I think on Carnival, I forget what the rules were, but there were certain rules, like you couldn't gain a certain amount, you couldn't lose a certain amount. And I remember that was the first time I really started to get anxious about my weight. And at that time in my life, I had just graduated college. Through my whole senior year, I was really stressed. I was the smallest that I ever was. I weighed the least amount. And I think because I was just super stressed during senior year. So finally, when I got on my first contract on the cruise ship and I was like finally stress-free and just like doing what I had been wanting to do my whole life, I started gaining my weight back, and that was healthy. I needed to gain my weight back. But being weighed every week, and I didn't even realize that weight I was my senior year was not great. And now looking back, I'm like, how did I even weigh that much? It's crazy. But I started kind of getting really anxious every week, like seeing the numbers go up, and then I was like, I would then start thinking way too much about what I was eating and kind of like hyper focused. And that's not something I should have been worrying about when I was enjoying myself and, you know, like dancing professionally for the first time. But instead I was bogged down by these thoughts of like, oh my God, I'm getting fat. I would have never even known I was gaining weight because my costumes still fit me the entire contract, even though I ended up gaining like 10 pounds. But I would have never known I gained 10 pounds if I wasn't being weighed every week and feeling that pressure. And on my most recent contract with Norwegian, we had to get weighed every 2 weeks. Now this time, because of my experience at Carnival, it was our costumer who would weigh us every week, and I told her, I said, don't say my weight out loud, I'm not gonna look, so you can just write it down. And I did that the whole contract, and I felt a lot better. However, I just think that is so fucked up that on cruise ships they weigh people. Why does our weight matter? Are we living in the 90s? We know now that that number on the scale doesn't mean anything. I could have somebody standing next to me who weighs 20 pounds more than me and we look the same, but it's because she'll have 20 pounds more of muscle. Like, that number does not mean anything about your fitness at all. And it does not mean anything about whether you can do the job or not. It doesn't. And I just think that is so toxic that these cruise lines make the performers, singers and dancers stand there and get weighed and then worry about their weight. And it's this endless vicious cycle of being weighed. And also on Norwegian, the rules were you couldn't gain 5 pounds or lose 5 pounds. And here's the other tea about that is most cruise lines treat their dancers like shit. The singers are royalty, the dancers are shit. So the singers are able, on a lot of cruise lines, able to go and like eat food in guest area whenever they want, but the dancers are restricted to certain times in guest area. Some cruise lines, they're not even allowed. And on Norwegian, I was a singer-dancer track, so I had the perks as a singer, although I was doing the same job as a dancer. But the dancers on my ship, there were some days where they literally only had one chance to get a meal throughout the day because of our rehearsal schedule. We were rehearsing whenever the crew mess was open. Anytime we were free, the crew mess was closed, and they weren't allowed upstairs to the guest area. So like there were show days where these dancers were not given a meal to eat. So they're performing these crazy shows, not being fed properly, and then being told, by the way, if you lose 5 pounds, you're done. Like, that's against the contract if you lose 5 pounds, and we're not going to feed you. What? So these cruise lines are having us eat the shitty food in the crew mess, which that food is vile. Like, it is disgusting. And also expecting us to maintain this perfect physique that they want, but they're not going to help you maintain that perfect physique if that is what they want. And also, sorry, I'm like going off because I've honestly been wanting to talk about this for a while. I'm outing the cruise industry. Like, this needs to freaking stop. It really does. Why on cruise lines do they need people who have perfect bodies and are super snatched? Why? Most of the audience is drunk people who only came to cruise to eat at the buffet and drink alcohol. They really don't care if somebody on that stage has a 6-pack or not. They really don't. They probably don't remember the shows because they're so drunk. Like, every experience I've had on my 2 cruise lines, although both my ships were like party ships, were just drunk guests. Yet we were killing ourselves trying not to be above or below the 5 pounds. And for what? For what? Why? And here's another thing I noticed, and honestly one of the main reasons why I decided to become a nutrition and wellness coach is because I noticed on my contracts there were girls who this was their first job out of high school. They didn't even go to college. Like, they are babies, you know, being being pushed into the real world. And this is their first time like living on their own, you know, working, being treated as a professional on their own without their parents. And I saw these girls creating at such a young age horrible eating habits of like being so anxious about the weigh-ins that they would eat barely anything leading up to the days of the weigh-in, and then after that they would binge on tons of candy and things like that, or like just yo-yoing with limiting yourself and then binging and all of this stuff. And it was perpetuated by the cruise lines having these standards for us. And like, I can't blame these girls for doing that because I would have done the same thing if I did this job at 18, 19, you know? Like, to be told you have to worry about your weight like that is just so not okay, when really all they should be worrying about is staying healthy so that they could do this job that they love doing. I just cannot believe that, like, still in 2020 we were getting weighed on these cruise ships as if weight really matters. That is so screwed up. I'm sorry, that is so screwed up. Before, but my one friend said, why can't Dear Evan Hansen be a bigger guy? Great question. Why can't he? Why also, when we you look at an original cast and after that they usually try to cast people who look like those original cast members and like keep it all the same. However, isn't that the beauty of casting new people in roles, to see something different? Why the story of Evan Hansen isn't about somebody being skinny or tiny. It shouldn't matter what their body type is. It should matter what they bring to the role. Crazy pants. I'm sorry if this seems like I'm just like complaining. I'm just angry and passionate about making theater and the dance world more inclusive in many ways. But I just think that the entire topic of body image, it shouldn't be something we have to worry about. We already in theater and dance have to be worrying about so much about, especially these days, like we're expected to know instruments and all of these accents and all of these special skills, and you know, we're focusing on keeping our singing and our dancing and our acting top notch. The bar is already up here, and if we can eliminate certain stressors that really don't matter, we should. And I think body image is one of them. It really shouldn't matter unless that body image is a part of the story that we're telling, or a part of the character, which in some cases it is, and that's fine. But for ensembles and for like roles like Evan Hansen, who the fuck cares? The moral of the story is health is important. You want to feel your best, and by treating your body well, by nourishing it, not limiting things, working out so your body is well balanced and strong, things like that, that is what is important. And your best physical fitness will follow if you are looking out for yourself. You want to feel the best. You want to be able to do 8 shows a week doing what you love, everything like that. So that's what's important. And I understand that casting might see different body types as less fit and things like that, but you know what, you can figure that out in the audition process. Like, you could also have a really tiny person who actually has no stamina to get through a certain dance number, and somebody who you maybe judged on the outside and thought, oh, they're not gonna be able to do that dance number, actually can do it like 7 times in a row, because bodies are just different. This is one thing I wanted to say. A lot of times on cruise ships or certain contracts, like if you're traveling a lot, things like that, you might not have access to the healthiest options or the options that will work best for you. And I've seen people on tours I've been on and cruise ships, because the healthiest options weren't available, they just wouldn't eat. And obviously they would do that because of the pressure of looking a certain way was weighing so heavily on them. It's also something we need to discuss and like be more aware of, is like this pressure leads people to become very unhealthy and to have disordered eating patterns, because we're taught like, oh, if the Broadway body has a salad for lunch, or like Broadway body salad for dinner with all of these perfect things, and sometimes that's just not possible. So sometimes you just need to eat what is available to you, because your body still needs fuel, and eating something not so great is better for you than not eating at all. And I definitely saw people doing that. Or I saw girls and guys who would limit themselves because like, oh, I've been looking bloated lately, or oh, I haven't been looking that great in my costume, and they'll limit themselves, and then they go crazy and they end up binge eating like 7 pieces of pizza and a bunch of fries and a bunch of candy, and then it's like a vicious cycle. And this is so common with performers, and it all goes back to the pressure that they are feeling for their body image, where if they weren't feeling that pressure, they would just eat probably a more well-balanced day and allow themselves like, I would like some chocolate today, or like, I want a piece of pizza or some fries. And you actually end up having a more well-balanced diet instead of yo-yoing back and forth, which is so bad for your body. And truly, everybody will be so much healthier if people aren't feeling this pressure to look a certain way. Wow, I'm sorry I'm talking so much. This is kind of like a part 1 of a part 2 series. My next video, I'm gonna talk about, I had a lot of people ask me about like diet trends, certain patterns of eating, like intermittent fasting, fasting in general, keto, no, whatever it's called. So I'm going to be preparing and making that video next, so look out for that if you want any of these diet myths debunked, or you just want more information. I'm going to do all of that. So yeah. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you liked this video. I hope it maybe made you feel a bit better about the pressure that we are all feeling all of the time as performers, and just know it's okay, and it's okay to treat your body with love and to nourish yourself, and just aim to be the healthiest and best person that you can be. Great. Make sure you subscribe. Have a good day. Look at my eyes. I wanted to match my shirt. I'm so extra. Bye. Have a great day.